Hey, welcome into the Stinkin Truth Podcast. Mark Schlereth alongside Mike Evans. So great to have you guys with us. Thank you so much for listening, subscribing, doing all the things you do. Mike, how are you, buddy?
I'm great, although I'm still stunned at the idea of Bill Belichick coaching college football.
I am too, man. I am too. Like, forget about scratching that itch to coach. You owe it to us to stay in the NFL. Like, selfishly, man, I want Bill Belichick in the NFL. Yeah. I want him to prove that he can win without Brady. I know his record with Brady, without Brady, it's a stark difference. But I want him to prove that he can go out there and coach without Brady. I want to see him get that wins record over Don Shula. I like all these things I want to see, and I'm not going to get to see any of it. And I guess, did you get your feelers out? Is nobody really interested in the NFL in bringing Bill Belichick in? It's not because he can't coach. I don't believe it. I don't believe it's because he's 72 years old. Maybe it's because they just perceive him to want total and complete control, right? Like to be the grand poobah of all things football, general manager, head coach, everything. I don't know. But I just certainly was like, good for him, but I'm disappointed.
Yeah, and I can't imagine that he would have taken this job without getting a real sense of the interest in him in this upcoming NFL coaching cycle. And as much as we were maybe surprised last year that he didn't get a sniff, maybe it's apparent that he wouldn't get another one this time around, which does lead to a great question. Why? And I'll add another theory. Do you think in any way Robert Kraft has kind of poisoned the well a little bit there among his fellow owners?
Yeah, I think age has something to do with it. Like, but what I always say, how many owners think that getting a young offensive mind is like taking Viagra? Like every one of them does. And I always say this, speaking of poisoned, like I get this from the millennials. They're sitting in their basements and have never had a real job, and mom and dad take care of everything. And they're
not
like,
going to end well for you, Stink.
They're like, hey,
dig your own grave. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I will. They'll text me on the game has passed you by. The game, you don't know. Like, shut up, man. Shut up, you little turd. Like I took a dump. And that dump had a piece of corn in it. And that piece of corn, the dump I took, knows more about football than you know. Like it is so stupid to think the game is past me. I sit down with two head coaches, two offensive play callers, two defensive play callers, two quarterbacks, two prominent defensive players every week when I call a game. I'm watching film consistently. I'm talking to head coaches. I'm talking to that's stupid. The game passed you by. Here's all you need to know. Like from Bill Belichick, the guy has energy to coach. He knows what the hell he's doing. It really comes down to, do you communicate well with a younger generation of players? And age has nothing to do with that. Now, if you want to say that he's a curmudgeon and that he can't communicate with today's players, okay. If that's your theory. But I'm telling you, that's probably not true. Knowing Bill Belichick, the guy you see that stands in front of the camera and the guy you see behind closed doors that you talk to, two entirely different people. Right. Bill Belichick is engaging. He's funny. Now he's dry, but he's funny. Will he get after you? Will he challenge you? Yeah, all these things. But to sit here and say that he can't coach in the National Football League is ridiculous. Then the question I would ask is, all right, do you think there will be a discernible difference in the 6-6 North Carolina Tar Heels with Mac Brown versus Bill Belichick? Is all of a sudden he's going to get them to the college football playoff?
Well, hey, we're here in Denver, and if I had come forward 2 years ago and said, yeah, the CU Buffs are 1-11, maybe the worst program in all of Division I college football. But I'm telling you, in 2 years, they're going to go 9-3. They're going to have the Heisman Trophy winner, and they may be the biggest story in college football. You would have laughed at me, but Deion Sanders came in and did all of that.
Yeah.
Could Bill Belichick have that kind of impact.
Okay, well, I would tell you, no, I don't think so. And then it comes down to NIL money. Like North Carolina says, hey, we're going to compete with Ohio State when it comes to NIL money. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to actually do it. And then the other thing is Deion Sanders comes with some freaking juice. Every kid's getting shoes and sunglasses and right. He said when he came to Colorado, he's like, man, I'm coming with Louis Vuitton. Like, Bill Belichick has a stick with one of those red knapsacks on the end, like a hobo, right? That's what he's packing. He's packing a trash bag. That's what he's got his luggage carrying.
He's got Samsonite, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the kids, like, do you think the kids care more about the fact that he's a 6-time head coach, Super Bowl winner, 8-time Super Bowl winner, or do we have 8 different jersey combinations? Like, I think kids in today's game care more about that than they do about the pedigree that Bill Belichick brings with him to North Carolina.
Well, but let me push back on that a little bit because you're right. What do these kids want right now? They want to get paid, right? They want the NIL, but a lot of them want to believe that you can help me get to the NFL. And if you've got a bunch of guys out there in the transfer portal and they're looking for a school to jump to, and they honestly believe that they can play at the next level, then all of a sudden guys like Deion Sanders and Bill Belichick, do they have a leg up on a lot of other coaches in college football because they can get you to the NFL. They know what the NFL is all about. They have the contacts. They have the connections. They have the know-how.
Who puts more players in the NFL, LSU or North Carolina? Who puts more players in the NFL, Ohio State or North Carolina? Who puts more players in the NFL, Oregon or North Carolina? I mean, the bottom line, here's the difference between the NFL and college football. In the NFL, you don't have any blind sisters of the poor on your schedule. Mm-hmm. When it comes to talent, everybody's fairly equal when it comes to talent. All right. So in college football, Mike, there are the haves and the have-nots. In college football, you can out-athlete your opponent. You can. Now, I understand that Saban at Alabama, I don't think he ever lost 3 games. They lost 3 games this year. Okay. So coaching does matter. All right, 1 game. Because Saban lost 2 games plenty of times. Man, if you line up as an Alabama football player and you line your schedule up and you play at the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, there's 11 games on your schedule. 9 times you're far more talented than the team you're playing. 9 of 11 games, you're more talented than the team you're playing. So I'm going to sit here and say, this sacrilege, Alabama, I apologize. Nick Saban's the greatest coach in college football history. He's got more wins. Is he the greatest? I don't know. If every year I get to run out there with double the level of talent that you have, I'm going to win a lot of games. Plus, when you look at lines of scrimmage in Alabama, come on. They've got full-grown ass men playing against college kids. They're going to dominate a lot of football games because of that. So I don't really know about all he's an X's and O's genius. The guy is incredible, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I just don't know that North Carolina is going to out-talent anybody. I really don't. Like, maybe they will in the ACC, but, I mean, Clemson's probably going to out-talent you. Florida State's probably going to out-talent you, I mean, okay, Wake Forest. Whoop-de-doo, Basil, I mean, who cares? So it's big news. There's part of me that's exceptionally disappointed, but there's that part of me that realizes he was the Jets head coach for about 7 minutes, and maybe there's a chance.
Maybe there's a chance.
Let me ask you this really quick. Cincinnati fires their head coach, and Cincinnati's owner comes and calls you up, and this is 2 months from now, and says, Bill Belichick, I want you to come here, be the grand poobah of football, and I want you to coach Joe Burrow. does Bill Belichick say, no, my father coached here in the 50s as an assistant coach, and I want to continue the legacy here in North Carolina, and I've taken this job because it means something to me? Or do you think he's going to go, all right, see you later, who was the guy from the Atlanta Falcons?
Bobby Petrino.
Bobby Petrino. Put a note in the locker. Sorry, guys, I left.
Leave notes in every player's locker.
Right. What a toolbox.
Been great knowing you.
Yeah. Maybe he pulls a Bobby Petrino on their ass.
Maybe. But this is going to be fascinating to watch. But I'm with you. I just think Bill Belichick is better copy, better headlines, better news, better viewing, everything in the NFL than college football. But we shall see. Speaking of the NFL, we got a juicy matchup. And let me get the obligatory, this could be a potential Super Bowl preview. There, I got it done. Buffalo and Detroit. How do you see it?
I hope that it's a Super Bowl preview because I think it's the best team in the NFC versus the best team in the AFC. That's kind of my take on it. And listen, man, Detroit has been devastated by injuries on the defensive side of the ball, and they still just find a way to win games. And I know they gave up a bunch of points last week and this, that, and the other. They gave up 30-something to Green Bay, but Detroit offensively, the thing I love about them, Mike, is any way you want to play the game. Like, you just lay it out. How do you want us to beat your ass? Well, you want us to run it down your throat? We can do that. Do you want us to, trick up the run game with some traps and some whams and pop something outside on the pin pole? We can do that. We've got the talent to do that. Oh, you want us to throw it over the top of you? Well, we've got, Jameson Williams. We can do that. Oh, you want that gritty, shallow cross, low cross. You want the deep overs and the tough inside running game. You want the basics and you want the digs. Oh, we've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. We can do that. Oh, you want some other gritty, shallow cross type of stuff and low cross stuff. Oh, we got Tim Patrick. We can do that. Oh, you want us to get at you with the tight end? We can do that. Oh, you want us to go trick play on your ass? We can do that. Mm-hmm. Oh, on third down and 7+, we're the best running team in football because we know our coach is going for it on fourth down. We can beat you that way. We can possess the ball. We can run it on fourth down. Last week, there were 4 or 5 on fourth downs. Like any way you want us to beat you, we can beat you. And they've got the offense to overcome the deficiencies on the defensive side of the ball because of the injuries. Like, I just think they're that good. And then on the flip side of it, Josh Allen. Come on, Josh Allen's the MVP of the league, right? Unless Josh Allen has a Jared Goff moment like he did against the Houston Texans, right, throws 5 picks, he's the MVP. Now, if he does that, if Detroit can make him do that, then all of a sudden I think Saquon Barkley takes over as the MVP favorite. The way I would handicap it right now, I would say it's Josh Allen, and then a couple notches, like a notch down, it's Saquon Barkley, and after that, pick your poison at the quarterback position. Is it Lamar? Have tough time putting Lamar in there when everybody says, hey, for Lamar to be his best, you got to give it to Derrick Henry, Mm-hmm. But I just think that's kind of the even Jared Goff was trending that way until he had that 5-pick game. So you want to get Jared Goff back into the MVP conversation, have a great game against Buffalo, and oh, by the way, turn Josh Allen over 4 times, and all of a sudden he gets back in that conversation.
So I bring up the idea of a potential Super Bowl preview. The folks in Pennsylvania are putting their hand up and say, whoa. How about our game this weekend? How about Pittsburgh and Philadelphia? Why not this as a potential Super Bowl preview?
One of the shows I asked on Breakfast Ball this morning, my show on FS1. Check us out, 8 to 10 every morning on FS1. So one of the questions I got asked, or one of the questions I had to ask was, will everything quiet down? The drama that's going on, A.J. Brown, the passing game, and then Brandon Graham comes out, their defensive end, and he says, yeah, they don't like each other, basically. And then Jalen Hurts has to say, well, he spoke out of turn. He knows what he did was wrong. And A.J. Brown addresses it. He goes, he's just confused, blah. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And so the question was, do the Philadelphia Eagles need a win to kind of squelch the drama in Philly? And my answer to that was absolutely not. They need a big-time passing game. I feel like, and this is total receiver, I feel like they could lose. They've won 9 straight. They could lose if A.J. Brown gets 10 for 160 and 2 touchdowns in a loss. He walks out and says, hey, let's go to dinner. Let's go get a steak. Let's woohoo. Things are great. Where last week they won against Carolina at home, a 6-point game they won, and he's all like, this passing game sucks. Like, well, I'm mad. I'm not getting enough attention. Blah, Dauber down. So receiver's the only position in football where you can walk out of a locker room happy as a clam as long as you get yours, even in a loss. It just drives me bananas. But they have to have an offensive game. Now, I'll say this, which is kind of crazy. He's not wrong. Right. Their passing game needs to be better. And I think it goes more to coaching than it does anything else. I think Jalen Hurts has become so risk adverse that he's not willing to take a chance with the football. And I go back to the last game against Carolina, second play of the game. A.J. Brown's on the outside. He runs a takeoff, man. Just a straight go route. And they're in cover 3, so J.C. Horn's out there running with him, right? And there's a safety in the middle of the football field. So they run down kind of just the outside of the seam, and they're running like a little corner. And they have a guy coming from the opposite side that's running an intermediate route and then a shallow, Mike, little flat route. Mm-hmm. So it's a levels route. It's low, medium, high. And Hurts drops back, totally protected, eyeballs A.J. Brown, corner J.C. Horn drops the coverage and takes the intermediate route. It is wide open. It's a 60, 70-yard completion, maybe an 80-yard touchdown. And Jalen Hurts that's where he's staring. You can see him looking at it. And he goes, I'll throw the check down. Total clean pocket. So I think he's been coached to be so risk adverse that he's not taking any chances. They're like, hey, man, they're 22-0 when they don't turn the ball over in the last whatever year, year and a half or whatever it is. They're like at the end of last season, they lost 6 of 7 after going 10-1, and it was all based on turnovers. In the first 4 games of the season, they turned the ball over, lost a couple games. They said, hey, we can't turn the ball over. Don't turn the ball over. Don't take a chance. Don't take a chance. And so now they're not pushing the ball down the field at all. And I think they need to start pushing the ball down the field a little bit. And I understand being risk adverse, and there's points in time in a game where you can't throw picks. But, man, they got to take a couple chances. So A.J. Brown ain't wrong. I just don't like the delivery. Jordan Mailata, the left tackle, the outstanding offensive lineman for them, came out today and said this is no longer about Jalen Hurts and this was yesterday, Jalen Hurts and about A.J. Brown. This is about the Pittsburgh Steelers. And all that says to me is, man, I'm sick and tired of freaking coming into my locker room and be sabotaged by a bunch of reporters asking me questions about those two, their relationship. I'm sick of it. It's about the game.
So based on your experience, is this the kind of story that brings a team together or drives them apart?
It can do either.
I know, but your gut feeling? How's this going to go?
My gut feeling is they're good enough to overcome this. They're good enough. And my gut feeling is they're going to say, hey, as a coaching staff, let's get AJ the ball a couple of times. Let's just push it down the field.
Early, right? Especially early. Get him in the flow, right?
Get him going. Let's take a shot. Let's do a couple of things. Not be careless with the football, but let's do a couple of things to get him a shot.
Yeah. Because the longer it goes on, you crafty TV people, you'll be like, hey, let's keep the camera on A.J. Brown. Let's see how he reacts after another possession where he didn't get any touches. I know how you work.
Right.
I know how you
But it goes
work.
back, you blame it on TV people, and I get it because we're in the media, you and I. But go back to the Arizona game last year where he didn't get the ball. He's walking off the field, shaking his head, all disgruntled. Yesterday, last week, they got a flash shot of him in Devontae Smith having a conversation on the sideline, and and sourpuss face, and so yeah, and then you have one of your teammates. We didn't do it. Brandon Graham, defensive end, 15 years. He's been a part of that organization. He goes on a radio show. He's injured right now and said, yeah, they don't like each other anymore. They used to be best friends, but now they don't like each other. Yeah. We didn't do that. They did it. They did it. So there's something there. There's something that's real there. And that's on them, not on us.
Who would have had on their prediction card, bingo card, that 13 weeks in, we'd have 9-4 Green Bay. I think, Green Bay maybe being there. But Seattle at 8-5. And, this division, this NFC West, that who wants it? Who's going to grab it? Is Seattle starting to really put a stranglehold on this thing? Is this a team that we have to start taking seriously?
It depends on the game tonight. Okay, so we're recording this on Thursday. There's a game tonight. That's the Rams and San Francisco. And if the Rams win this game, Mike, they finish in Seattle. I don't know if it's in Seattle or if it's in Los Angeles, but they finish with the Seahawks. And if they can win out, they'll win that division, regardless of what Seattle does. So
at the Rams. So
I would tell you right now, and I said this a week ago, I like the Rams to win this division. And then they played the Buffalo Bills, and offensively they were awesome. And I put a tape together today about Cooper Kupp just doing for the love of the game stuff. Blocking. He's doing double team with the offensive tackles. He's blocking the defensive end, then climbing to the linebacker and knocking him out, setting up an alleyway for Kyron Williams, and just throwing blocks and knocking people around and doing stuff that no other receivers are asked to do. Like when he and Puka Nacua are together and they can actually run the ball, when their offensive line is healthy enough to really run the ball and lean into that with Matthew Stafford, that's a scary team. And you saw it with Buffalo. What they hang 44 on Buffalo the other night, and Buffalo still almost won that game. That's the team I like in the NFC West, actually. Now we'll see, because since 2019, the 49ers are 9-2 against the Rams. They have Shanahan has owned McVay. Teacher owned the pupil. But we shall see, because the Rams won the game this year. They were down 10 in the fourth quarter, came back to win that game against San Francisco. So we're going to see exactly what happens.
Your game this week that you're calling, Jets, Jacksonville. Not an attractive game from a record standpoint, but Aaron Rodgers, do you have a sense, and I'm sure you'll have a much better sense, we could talk about it next week, but going into this, do you have a sense about whether or not he's going to be, A, back with the Jets next year, and B, even playing next year?
I don't know, Mike. He actually played pretty well last week, put up some big numbers.
Over 300 for the first time this year.
Yeah, for the first time since 2021, I believe.
Yeah.
So he put up some big numbers. They're just bad. It was, I watch a lot of film. It's a hard week of watching Jacksonville Jets film. Just a lot of bad football, like especially up front, both offensive lines, just not very good, not very nuanced. And, it's interesting because when you watch teams, there's basic standard, like you block this guy, you block that guy. You know what makes you really go from being okay or average to good, and then good to great and great to exceptional, is how many layers or levels do you understand? So it's one thing to say, man, I got to block this guy. It's another thing to say, all right, I'm blocking this guy. My tackle's blocking this guy. My center's going for this guy. And then it's another thing to say, well, okay, I know who we're all blocking, but where does the back release? Can I get some help from the back as he releases? Oh, we are in slot. That means that brings in a corner as a potential blitz guy. So how do we contend with that? Can we cheat our protection, right? Why are we running this route combination? What's the depth of the quarterback at this route combination? How quickly does the ball get out? When you start to understand the game from a global complex or from a global
standpoint.
Yeah, from a global standpoint, from having the global complexity of the entirety of the play, then all of a sudden, global complex, not complex. God, what am I trying to say? Global perspective, whatever. So when you have a more global perspective,
take the 38,000-foot view.
Just woo, woo, woo. That's my general studies degree. That word was too hard for general studies.
Idaho, maybe. Idaho.
Yeah. You know what? Pare it down. When you start thinking about the game from a global perspective, boom. That's when teams go from good, okay, good, average to really good to great. And what I see is teams that don't understand the goal. They understand who they're supposed to block. They understand the best way to get that done and how to use help and how to help other people. And that's what I see when I watch Jets and Jaguars football. And so I say that to say this. Is Aaron Rodgers done? I don't know. Do I think he could come back and play at a high level? I don't think he's athletically as gifted as he once was, Mike. And I think some of the off-platform stuff that he's always been able to accomplish, he doesn't do as well as he used to do. So maybe he's got to tighten up mechanically a little bit. But can he still play? Yeah. And I just think that the Jets, honestly, I'm going to release this podcast, that I just don't think they're very well coached. And I don't think the Jacksonville Jaguars are either. And that's not necessarily a reflection on every coach, but it's just a reflection on what I see on tape.
Okay. Let's get to our picks slowly. I need a 3-0 week, and I need you to go 0-3. But I did go 2-1 last week, and you went 1-2. So you're leaving the door slightly ajar for me.
Yes. Right now you're sitting at 23-19, Mike. Respectable for you. I am at 26-15-1. 26-15-1. Although, like you said, I went 1-2 last week. Not proud of that. Not proud. So I go first this week.
Yes.
I go first. I go the Chiefs -4. They don't blow anybody out. They're getting Cleveland. Jameis Winston prayed that Jesus delivers him from pick sixes.
That was awesome.
He still threw 2 picks, but his prayer was answered. He didn't throw a pick 6. He did throw 2 picks, though. That's not going to change. I think the Chiefs get extra opportunities with the football. They kick a lot of field goals. I don't think they blow out the Browns, but I think 6+ points is probably pretty fair. So I'm going to take the Chiefs -4.
4, yeah.
Okay, then I think I've got the Broncos, Indianapolis, the Colts. I think this defense off a little mini bye is going to be much better. I think the Broncos are going to win this game. They're -4. I'm giving the points. I'm taking the Broncos. And then lastly, Eagles, Pittsburgh, Battle of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. A lot of controversy, a lot of drama. I think they clear that up. I think the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Steelers. It's 5.5 points right now. I'm taking the Eagles. I'm giving the 5.5.
All right, I'm actually going to flip on your Chiefs pick. I just think that the die has been cast. This team's just going to be playing close games.
All right.
Cleveland, I think, is going to be a bit of a pesky handful. So I'm actually going to take Cleveland plus the 4.
Okay.
Against Kansas City. Then I'm going to have the Chargers bounce back -3 in their game. Who they got again? I just had it. Bucks against the Bucks.
They've got the Bucks.
They got the Bucks. Yeah. So I'm going to take the Chargers, which will once again open up the NFC South for a free-for-all at the end. And then I'm going to take Green Bay. I think Green Bay bounces back. I think Seattle, they're a good team, but I don't know if they're a 9-5 team. So I'm going to take Green Bay minus the 2.5 up there in the Pacific Northwest.
All right. Sounds good, buddy. All right. I appreciate it. I feel a strong 3-0 coming from me. I think you're 1-2. It's my guess.
Or a 1-1-1.
1-1 and 1.
Real, just bad. 1-1
It's a
and 1.
real
Just-
kissing your sister outcome.
Just ugly.
All right. For everybody involved in the Secret Truth podcast, we thank you so much for listening. For Mike, I am Mark. Thank you so much for being here. We'll talk to you guys next week. Make sure you subscribe and do all those things. And we appreciate you guys. Take care.